From the Fans Talk Podcast family at fanstalkpodcast.com, this is episode 28 of Fans Talk Lucha, and today we're going to preview Lucha Underground Ultima Lucha. We're going to preview and predict all 8 matches that have been announced, including Day 1, which will air on Wednesday, July 29th, 2015. My name is Garvin, and with us, as always, is the wife. Say hello, wife.
Hello, wife.
Now, this episode of Fans Talk Lucha has been brought to you by our friends over on Patreon. To become a Patreon subscriber and a member of the Squared Circle of Trust, all you got to do is head on over to patreon.com/Fans Talk and pledge your support. Quick shout out to our newest member of the Squared Circle of Trust, Sean Walton, who pledged his support this week. Sean, thank you so much. It means a hell of a lot.
Don't be like me and lose your Patreon password.
Yeah.
And login information. Write that down.
And just a reminder, on Patreon, we do release some exclusive content. The video feed is normally made available for Patreon subscribers, so you'll have access to that and all kinds of other good stuff. So I think that's it. I think we can go ahead and get started. Ultima Lucha, it's going to be a 2-day event. You've got this Wednesday, July 29th, as Day 1, and then there's a special 2-hour episode the following Wednesday on August 5th. So we don't necessarily know what matches are going to happen on what card, but what we do know is what matches are going to happen in general. So let's go ahead. We'll run down the card as is. We're going to start with the Mac versus They Call Him Cage in a Falls Count Anywhere match. So this feud basically started during the right around when they were doing the Trios tournament. Actually, it was right after the Trios tournament. I can't recall who all was involved. I think it was Big Rick, Daivari, and they were looking for a third partner. The Mac thought that his choice was going to be obvious, that he wanted to be involved in that, and They Call Him Cage basically beat him up in the locker room to take that spot as a member of a Trios challenger. So that was the general build. You've had some interaction in between. So since then, you've got the Mac versus They Call Him Cage. They've had, I think, 2 matches right now altogether. It's gone either way for the most part. And, it's gone either way, but the Mac versus They Call Him Cage in the Ultima, Lucha spotlight. Let's go into predictions. Well, first, before we get into predictions, just thoughts on the overall build. Do you like this feud that they've got going on?
It's a little silly. Like, here's Cage. He's like, hey, let me into your group. I work well with others. And he proves this by beating up someone else. That's not teamwork, Cage.
It's true.
I'm just saying.
And again,
that was a lot of lip service out of Cage.
They Call Him Cage once again. Looks really strong, goes into an opportunity like the Trios Championship tournament, or not the tournament, but a chance at the titles, and blows it like he normally
consistently.
Does, so.
He's like the LeBron James of wrestling.
But Big Mac, he's awesome. Like, everything
Mac.
he has done, it just looks spectacular in the ring. So, predictions. My prediction is going to go to the Mac, and go ahead. What's your predictions?
Okay, so a couple years ago, we started this thing where Mr. Garvin here thought that it would be fun if I predicted wrestling matches based on my favorite TV show, Murder, She Wrote. So that's really the only way I know how to do predictions. So when I looked at this match, I thought about an episode of Murder, She Wrote called Time to Die. And these 2 wrestlers remind me of the characters Chris and Chris's stepfather, Frank Garcia, who is played by Robert Beltran. You might know him as Chakotay from Voyager.
So not related to Carlos Beltran, famous baseball player who used to play for...
Oh, I don't know. He might be.
The Montreal Expos?
He might be. I don't know. I just know he's pretty cute. So, in this episode of Murder, She Wrote, Chris is bound to a shady family member, which is his stepfather, Frank. And Frank runs over Chris's English teacher and drives off, which is totally ungentlemanly and not something Chakotay would do. So in this case, I think that Chris is the Mac. And while his stepfather isn't Cage, his stepfather's Big Rick. Big Rick is terrible. He spells his name wrong. He's trying to be a shady businessman, just like this Frank character. He's not very good at it. Maybe only having one eye makes it really hard to count money. I don't know. Cage seems to fit the personality of this Frank Garcia guy. He's eager to prove he's more than just a handsome guy. He's many things. He's a man and a machine. He's a loan shark. He's a campaign contributor. And he's a super pigeon racer, because apparently that's what people did in the 80s in New York City. So in the episode, after Frank runs over Chris's English teacher, Frank is gunned down on his porch during a pigeon race that's worth over $10,000. What this means to me is that I'm in the wrong business. Obviously in this episode, Chris, who is Mac, is innocent. He needs to mature fast, and he needs to realize that as much as he hates his stepdad, he needs to find his stepdad's killer. I think Mac will step it up and overcome Cage. I think he'll find his maturity in this match. If Cage/Frank's death means nothing else, it means a man can't be too many things. He has to choose one of those things, because too many things will be his undoing. So my pick is Mac.
Okay, cool. Next match up, we have Alberto El Patron versus Johnny Mundo. This feud was basically, it started right around the time that Tejano versus Patron ended. There was some cattiness between the two backstage. Both of these guys want to be the quote-unquote face of the company, despite the fact that neither have the title. They can't necessarily be the face of Lucha Underground without a championship, I would imagine. That's usually how it works. But nonetheless, this has gone on for weeks, and it culminated really when Johnny Mundo threw Alberto El Patron through Cueto's office, through the glass of Cueto's office. So I think that's really the main focal point for their feud, is just as far as like that's when you knew that they were going to have that big blow up match. So overall, that was the build. Your thoughts about the interaction between the two?
Sure. I don't have a Murder, She Wrote pick for this. I don't want to admit that I was writing these at work, but let's just say I got paid a certain amount an hour to look at Lucha Underground in a place that may or may not have been my office. So, I don't really like either of these wrestlers. I think they're boring to watch, but I think that Johnny Windows, has a hard time controlling his temper. It's flashy and it looks good, but I think if you're really wrestling to be the face of the company, that they want someone a little more seasoned and a little less of a wild card, and I think that's going to be El Patron.
Interesting choice. Yeah, I'm feeling the same way, generally speaking, as far as, I don't know, because you have an opportunity to make a new star. I mean, Alberto El Patron, he's already the star. He's already one of the top guys in Mexico. And so you don't necessarily need to continue to feed that. I mean, it has enough fuel to continue burning for him to continue to have that fan base. So, but Johnny Mundo, has this opportunity to be a big star. So, on one hand, I can see them easily giving it to Mundo just to put the spotlight on him and show that, you can put your company on a guy like Mundo. At the same time, while it is easy to give Patron the win, it does leave fans happy. So if this is your main event for day one, you want your fans to go home happy that night. So I'm torn personally, but I guess I'm going to have to give it to Johnny Mundo.
Really?
Yep.
I think we might have to bet on these.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Loser buys the winner pizza.
All right. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I want anchovies on my pizza.
Yeah. Okay. So next matchup, we've got the Gift of the Gods match. This is going to basically crown who is going to take that new title home. I think it's the Gift. I mean, we were arguing on this, last week as far as, is this going to be, is that the title name, Gift of the Gods, or was the Gift of the Gods the match? It was really hard to decide. So anyways, take home the title, Gift of the Gods match, take home the 7 medallions.
Ooh, 7 medallions.
Thoughts on this story? Cause this is pretty much dragged out. I mean, they've been talking about the medallions. They've been talking about the Aztec history and power, for months before they even started to hand out those medallions. So just Talk.
I hope
What do you think?
that they bring in some kind of supernatural element like they've been doing with Neil and the Skellingtons. I hope that the medallions combine into some kind of Megazord type thing.
Yeah.
I think that I don't think that's going to happen, but the 12-year-old inside of me would love to see something like that happen.
As long as it doesn't involve that cheesy CGI lightning that we got that one
Oh,
episode.
no, it should. And then Kevin Nash should punch his fist up through the ring.
Yes.
But again, that's like my fantasy. So in order to determine who I thought would win this, I again turned to Murder, She Wrote.
Well, hold on. Before you do that, here are the participants.
Oh.
Phoenix, Bengala, Jack Evans, Big Rick, King Cuerno, Sexy Star, and Aerostar.
A lot of people in this match. This is going to be hard to follow.
Yeah.
So this reminded me of a Murder, She Wrote episode where there was a wedding, something borrowed, something blue. And this was an episode with a lot of characters, a lot of suspects. It was your classic sort of closed room mystery where you got a handful of people and only one of them can be victorious. So Jessica Fletcher, author/sleuth, her nephew Grady is the biggest moron on the planet, and he has found another moron and they're getting married. So all these guests show up. I feel like this episode was about a failure of natural selection. Someone dies, you think they won't get married, they do, they breed. Oh, it's idiots everywhere. But in this episode, a seemingly minor character in the beginning gets murdered pretty much right off the bat, takes a meat thermometer right in the back. So...
Was he done?
Yeah, she was done.
Okay.
She was well done. So if I'm looking at this cast of wrestlers, I think to me, the most minor character is Bengala. We didn't see much of him, and then suddenly he was in last week, and he had those stupid shoulder pads on. I think that if I had to pick someone to get stuck with the meat thermometer, it's Bengala. So he's out.
I can see that. Go ahead.
So the suspects in the episode are Lechy Uncle Ben, who I think would be Phoenix. Remember how he was like getting all up on Katrina?
Really? I would think someone named Lechy Uncle Ben definitely would go to King Cuerno for me.
I don't know. I was thinking about Phoenix, how he knew Katrina had meal, and he still went after her anyway. That's just how I felt it. That was my first impression.
Okay.
A newly engaged Uncle Ziggy, who I thought was kind of like Aerostar, who has been just sort of getting his groove back. We've been seeing more and more good wrestling out of him. There's a snooty Valerie, who I thought would be a good Jack Evans because of that enormous ego he's got. There's a Mrs. Belle Pentworth, who is the stupid fiance's dad's biggest client. Well, that obviously is Big Rick. You know, because he's this businessman.
Go ahead.
You see where I'm going with this. And then there's Wilfred Wynn III, Donna's former fiance. He is like the best. He's a Fulbright scholar. He is hot in leather. He's a biker guy. The parents wanted her to marry him. This is obviously Sexy Star.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Because she's the Mary Sue of our cast here. Mm-hmm. This leaves King Cuerno as the old woman wedding crasher. Only Jessica Fletcher is smart enough to figure out that this old woman who keeps showing up at the buffet table doesn't know any of these people. Just an awesome wedding crasher. She keeps it quiet because she's a sweet lady. In this episode, the snooty snoot Valerie, who is our Jack Evans, murders the housekeeper because the housekeeper recognizes Valerie as a lady who took off with an insurance check after her husband died in mysterious circumstances. So this means Jack Evans is out. The only one who wins in this episode, really, is the wedding crasher. Everyone else has to watch these idiots get married and produce a child. The wedding crasher gets free cake. All the time. Professional wedding crasher. And that is King Cuerno. I think that King Cuerno is going to win this match. You followed it, right?
I followed it. But I'm looking at names, and King Cuerno, I don't think would be a name that I would necessarily say would win this match. Phoenix, Big Rick, Sexy Star, and King Cuerno, I think are your top four for sure. I'm gonna go with Sexy Star.
Really?
Yeah.
You think they're gonna take her that far?
Yep.
Explain, please.
I don't have, we don't have enough time for me to read my Jay Fletch story, so.
Your Minecraft-based predictions.
No, I think overall, like, they have pushed Sexy Star in such a manner that it is believable for her to sneak a win here. And we really didn't have rules. I mean, if it's elimination style, if it's all 7 in the ring at one time, if it's a gauntlet match, there really hasn't been that type of information released as far as, we know. I mean, we tend to ignore Lucha Underground stuff during the week because we don't want to be spoiled. We don't want to necessarily read the rumors. So yeah, we avoid all that stuff. But I'm thinking Sexy Star is a good name to have here. Phoenix is another one that I think could do really well with a championship. But yeah, I'm going to go Sexy Star. Blue Demon versus Tejano in a who should represent Mexico in their fight against Chavo match. Mind you, neither are billed for Mexico.
I did do some Wikipedia research, the totally most factual source of facts ever. And they are both from Mexico City.
Oh, they are. But billed, as far as on TV announcing, it says like California or whatever.
Well, because they'd want to be close to the studio.
Sure. So, anyways, that doesn't matter. What matters is you've got Tejano versus Blue Demon. This fight basically started because they were both wanting to represent Mexico in their quest to fight Chavo. That was it.
I can support both of them in that.
Yeah, definitely could. So Blue Demon looks to be the older veteran. Tejano is still pushed as that young star, youngest AAA mega champion.
He is young. I think he's my brother's age.
So yeah, overall, that's who you got. My predictions, I'm gonna go with Tejano. I think Tejano can go over as your Technico. I mean, they're both Rudos in this sense, but in the grand scheme of things, Blue Demon sided with the crew, sided with Chavo, and anyone that sides with those two, I can't stand. So, Tejano wins.
Before I get into my win or lose prediction, I do want to predict that Chavo is in some way going to get involved and there will be a chair shot.
Okay.
So I predict that that's going to happen. But this reminds me of an episode of Murder, She Wrote called Trevor Hudson's Legacy. So I see that smirk on your face and I wish you would try to hide it a little more. In this episode, a national icon author, Trevor Hudson, he dies. He is beloved. Everyone loves him. He writes these beautiful books about the American West. His family wants to release his last book. He has dictated it on his deathbed. It's supposed to be his best book yet. But because he's so sick, they hired this young author named Bob Jarrett. And Bob Jarrett is supposed to clean up the manuscript.
Related to Jeff Jarrett?
Probably not.
Now, this manuscript, was it the first draft?
Yeah. Supposedly, the sick guy had dictated a rough draft, and Bob Jarrett, the young guy who is not dead, is going to clean it up and make it into something publishable. Kind of like that newly released first draft of Catcher in the Rye.
No, not Catcher in the Rye.
Well.
Not Death of what was it? Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird was a sequel to that, or prequel to that.
Yeah. A little similar, but actually not really that much less scammy than what we're finding out. So.
Google it.
Yeah, apparently there's a scandal. And it's mad real. Anyway, Bob Jarrett, this young author who's got his first big job, confesses to Jessica Fletcher that he actually wrote the book. Trevor was just too sick. He was medicated. His notes made no sense. But because this is the best thing ever, and he thinks, wow, I'll never write anything like this again, he's having second thoughts about going along with the ruse. He, at first, he wanted to go ahead with the cover-up. He believed in the legacy and the history, and he wanted to be part of something bigger. He wanted to represent the American people. But he realizes now that that's not really honest. It's not true to himself. So I feel like this is a good comparison to Blue Demon and Tejano. Did you know that Tejano is also Tejano Jr.?
Yes.
So his dad was Tejano. Blue Demon Jr. is a junior.
Correct.
So they're both juniors. They're both fighting for their family legacies. Anyway, Jessica Fletcher is like, I get that. But your legacy can't be based on a lie. Because then you destroy the integrity of your legacy. And that's good advice. She also says things like, murder is bad, which I'm not sure that I totally agree with. But anyway, young ghostwriter Bob, he confesses that he didn't walk away and he doesn't know what to do. This makes a match prediction really hard.
Yeah?
I feel like Jay Fletch would encourage both men to strike out on their own paths and create their own careers, rather than clinging to the past. But it does remain that both of them are accomplished Mexican wrestlers from Mexican families, and they both want to be part of this legacy. So my prediction is that while they will both continue to contribute to their legacy and their heritage, That's not something you can determine in one match. This one who's more Mexican match is bullshit. I think that after comparing their careers on Wikipedia, again, totally factual, facty facts there, Blue Demon Jr. has the years and experience behind him. I think because of this, he's going to have to win this match. We don't know how many more matches he's going to have. I think he's going to go out a champion on this one. And I think that this is going to inspire Tejano to follow in his footsteps. Regardless, I think they're both going to do Mexico proud, but I do think that Blue Demon Jr. is going to walk away the winner.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm just thinking back to what you said a few moments ago, which was something along the lines of Jay Fletch says that murder's bad, but I don't completely agree with that. I think that might be the title of this episode.
I was operating a hammer and power saw earlier today.
All right, next match, we've got Angelico, Son of Havoc, and Ivelisse versus the Disciples of Death for the Trios Championship. So, theoretically, Ivelisse will be healthy. It's been some time. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know the taping schedule, if this was taped a month ago, or if this is something more recent. Who knows? But theoretically, she should be healthy enough to compete and do something. That's my hope. But yeah, this all started just by the simple fact that, Angelico, Son of Havoc, and Ivelisse won the Trios Championships. The Disciples of Death just kind of appeared, and it seemed like they just went after those three for no real reason other than they get the titles. So, predictions. If Ivelisse can compete, I see them retaining. But if she can't, Disciples of Death have to take the titles home. Do you agree with that?
I'm torn on this one. Looking at storyline, because of my prediction for the Puma and Meal match, I feel like if my prediction for that match comes true, the Disciples are going to have to win. I think that can usher in 3 new wrestlers and a great bunch of storylining for next season, which we are definitely hoping happens. But if I'm wrong about where the storyline is going, I can see our Team Fight guys winning because they've earned it. They're great as a team. They're hilarious. They're entertaining. They're all great athletes. So I'm torn. I think if you're going on skill alone, Team Fight would have to win. But if you're going for storyline, I could see the Skellingtons winning. I don't know. I don't know what my prediction is.
Yeah, they really haven't developed this story as much as I was hoping for. And I think obviously they were handicapped because of Ivelisse. She was injured, so they couldn't really do the matches. She was, forced to stay on the sideline. So I don't know. I mean, I think that, again, if she can compete, I see them retaining. But I think they have to split that team up sooner than later just to see what they can do on their own. Son of Havoc specifically, as well as Angelico.
This also is dependent, too, on who else is getting involved. Is Katrina going to be involved using them as puppets? Because I think they'll have more power that way. That's kind of how they're supposed to be. And Katrina has been individually going to the other team and trying to alienate them. Yeah. Threaten them, scare them. So that's why I'm not sure. I think that they're obviously better wrestlers. But storyline-wise, it seems like they're pushing the supernatural thing. Yeah.
All right, picks. I'm going to go with the Disciples of Death.
I'm going to say the 2.
Okay. All right. Drago versus Hernandez in a Believers Backlash match. Now, this is a strap match, except for Drago and Hernandez won't have straps. The fans will. And how it's being talked about, at least in commentary, is that the fans are going to be able to use straps on the wrestlers.
Yeah, this is hilarious.
I'm really interested to see how they pull this off. I'm sure it'll look cool, but I don't know if it's... I don't know how it's going to work. Cause the fans aren't going to go all out, I wouldn't imagine. And it's probably not all the fans. It's probably fans that are on the edge.
You know what I would love to see happen?
What?
So they're doing this dragons aren't real business, and Drago's come back and his makeup looks pretty realistic.
It's rad, yeah.
Yeah, he looks great. I would love it if in the middle of the match when people are slapping at him, he got lifted up on some kind of wire and he was above the slapping with his big wings, doing this. Wouldn't that be fabulous if that happened?
It would be, but it would be tough to pull off.
I agree. It would look like the live version of Peter Pan.
Peter Pan, yeah.
The harness wouldn't fit right. The singing would be terrible.
Yeah, so this feud pretty much started because Drago had the title shot against Prince Puma. Hernandez caused him to lose, and then they've been fighting ever since.
Yeah, I like Hernandez as a major bad guy, but he hasn't been a major bad guy long enough for me to think that he's got a legitimate shot at winning this.
Yeah.
I think they're still developing him, and everyone loves both of them, but I think Drago is kind of an obvious fan favorite to win.
My prediction is Drago.
But it would be so sweet if they brought in a supernatural element there and let him fly. I would love that.
And he'll be sparkly.
Oh, yeah.
Pentagon Jr. versus Vampiro.
Let's see.
So this feud was pretty much set up because Vampiro stopped Pentagon Jr. from breaking Sexy Star's arm twice. And yeah, that's it. Pentagon Jr. is angry because he wanted to break her arm and Vampiro wouldn't let him, so...
Pentagon Jr. needs to take some vitamin D. He does, like stat.
Well, now he's got to make the ultimate sacrifice to his master, and that is Ian Hodgkinson, a.k.a. Vampiro.
I was fortunate enough to be able to relate this to a Murder, She Wrote episode.
Okay, go ahead. They involve teasing the burning of a dude and then just walking away instead.
No. Well, if by burning of a dude you mean book burning, then yes.
Okay.
So, in the episode Sins of Cabot Cove, Jay Fletch's former pupil, Sybil, decides she's going to write a tell-all book about Cabot Cove, but she's going to call it Castle Cove because she's slick like that, and no one will know. So she proceeds to dish out everyone's public dirt, and she uses creative but super obvious pseudonyms, which makes me wonder how the hell does an 18-year-old know what all the old people in Cabot Cove are doing? He never addressed that in the episode, and it's really creepy. It's also before the internet, so...
I thought she worked at the haircutters.
No, this is a teenager who leaves and writes a great book.
Oh, this isn't the one where they
Are you going to think I'm going to double use an episode for a prediction?
Yeah. Is that not what's happened? This is a different episode? This is not
no, I
the
wouldn't
episode
do
where
that.
they're gossiping in the hairdresser?
Oh my god. These are original.
Okay.
Wow.
Sounds good.
You're about to start a feud right now.
Okay. My bad.
Step off, Beaker. So, I see some of this in Pentagon Jr., who calls out Vampiro by his totally unexpected name, Ian Hodgkinson. It's like when Sybil calls Jessica Fletcher J.B. Feather. You know, we all know who it is. We all kind of knew Pentagon was gunning for a Vampiro because they've been building it up in the storyline. Anyway, in this episode, the tell-all books bring a lot of drama for the people of Cabot Cove. Someone burns down the display in the bookstore. There's your gasoline right there. It's sort of like Pentagon breaking everyone's arms, too. You know, all this trouble, he's kind of a major dick. Sybil, the author, has a master, and that master is money and fame. Pentagon also claims to have some kind of master. Anyway, because it's Cabot Cove and someone is murdered every 5 minutes, someone dies, and she dies in exactly the same manner as is described in the tell-all book. Someone is obviously using this book as a blueprint for murder, which would be an awesome name for a book, wouldn't it?
Or a band.
Yeah. Anyway, it turns out that the motive for murder is unrequited love. Sybil had no idea what she was writing when she turned out those plot lines about the interplay between love and hate, but maybe Pentagon Jr. knows a little about the interplay between love and hate. I had this theory that even though Pentagon claims to hate Vampiro and he wants to call him out, it's possible that he's secretly super jealous of Vampiro and his career and his popularity, and he wants to be more like him. He's a legend. You know, people love Vampiro.
Well, Vampiro does say that Pentagon Jr. reminds him a lot of his younger self.
Yes, this is where I'm going. But Vampiro does struggle with his popularity. He struggles with the morality he's had throughout the years and how it's affected his career. I think that he's going to have to destroy the person who's trying to emulate him because he knows that how he got there wasn't really, you know, he struggles with it every day. So I think that my pick is Vampiro. He's going to have to destroy Pentagon before Pentagon takes on his sins and becomes him.
I've got two thoughts, okay? One dates back to 6 or 7 episodes ago in the YouTube comments, and I don't remember who it was, but they suggested the idea that the master Pentagon Jr.'s master is actually Vampiro.
Oh, yes. Yeah, some of our YouTubers really believe this, and I could see it.
I do like that idea.
The way this is going, this love-hate yin-yang kind of thing they've got going.
Yeah, and because Pentagon Jr. was basically saying he needs to eliminate Ian Hodgkinson, so maybe the master, even though we've seen the master in silhouette form, maybe he needs to split Ian Hodgkinson and Vampiro as far as those two personalities so that the master will, be there in the temple. It's a thought. The other thought is, what if Pentagon Jr. is actually Vampiro from another universe? They're crossing like time and space.
Like in Voyager, when they go into the alternate universe and Kira's a slut?
Close. Except for Vampiro, in Pentagon Jr.'s timeline, maybe had like a scar or something, so he covers it up with a mask.
And he liked to break arms.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I hope the world as we know it doesn't implode when they touch. Like touch fist or something. Like
Dark Shadows will envelop us?
Yeah. That would suck.
It could happen.
Yeah.
Well, it would have already happened because it was filmed in April, right?
I don't know. Again, I don't know when this one was filmed.
Spoilers.
Prince Puma versus Mil Muertes for the Lucha Underground Championship. This is our main event to decide who walks home with the Lucha Underground title.
This is the second, my second most anticipated match. My first, obviously, is Pentagon and Vampiro. This one I'm excited for, too.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, the general gist is Prince Puma has beaten everyone. Mil Muertes wants that opportunity and gets it. So here it is.
Okay. Well, in the Murder, She Wrote episode, Witch's Curse, there's a woman named Mariah who waltzes into the community auditions for a play about the Salem witch trials. She walks onto the stand, and becomes the witch on trial for practicing in Cabot Cove. And we know that she's kind of the real deal, because she's super 90s. She's wearing a lot of lipstick and a lot of black. And a wind machine kicks on, and her robes are billowing. It's fantastic filming. The town decides that they hate her. And they hate her because it's a bunch of old New Englanders, and she's pretty and flirty, and all the men like her. Not only is she obviously a witch, the old-timers think she's obviously a slut, which is totally not fair because the single ladies at the beauty salon are always flinging themselves at the hot young guys in town. So New England in the 80s was awfully sexist. Katrina is a little bit like the witch of Lucha Underground. She wears that black catsuit, and she's got a magic rock, and she's got the skeleton boys. She goes around licking people in the face and hanging out in men's locker rooms. But what if she, just like Mariah, is a woman on a mission to clear a loved one who was wronged in the past because of someone else's misdeeds? Just as Mariah wanted to clear her mother's reputation for a bogus necklace theft, and just as she also must declare her innocence for a murder that happens in Cabot Cove, I think that maybe this is where Katrina's going. So far, Puma's proven to be a fine, upstanding gentleman, just like one of the unimpeachable folks you'd find in Cabot Cove. But what if there is a twist? Jessica Fletcher would know to look beyond the fan chanting and the silent exterior of Puma, and she'd say, why is he so silent? What's going on? Why doesn't he speak up for himself? What's he hiding? Maybe a murder.
What a twist.
Just like in this episode, I think there's going to be a heel turn for Puma. I think that Puma's going to lose to Mil, and either Mil or Katrina will be the victor in this match. I think that Mil's going to be vindicated for all this drama he had in his childhood. I think that Katrina's going to prove her worth. I think she's going to become a stronger character for the next season coming up. And I think that Mil's got to win this.
Where is Conan? I mean, I know he was taken out in a coffin last week.
Conan's dead.
Did you say that?
I just said it.
Oh. That's sad. That was a sad...
Goodbye, Conan. We don't like you.
That was a sad conclusion to that. So, okay, cool. So, you're going to go with Mil Muertes.
Yeah.
I am also going to go with Mil Muertes.
This is why I think that the skeleton guys have to win the other one. I think that they're going to have to be related, those two matches.
Okay. Let's do some quick picks. Real quick. Don't go totally Jay Fletch on us. 2 bonus questions. What's going to be the match of the night?
Oh, Vampiro.
Vampiro versus Pentagon Jr.
Yeah. We've been waiting for it. They're the two we haven't seen wrestle together. Everyone else we've seen.
That is a good pick. I like that. But I'm going to go with Prince Puma versus Mil Muertes. What is more likely to happen during... I mean, again, we're previewing both episodes of Ultima Lucha. So what's most likely going to happen before the end of the season? Are we going to see Cueto's brother?
Ooh.
Is Chavo going to hit someone with a chair?
Boo.
Or are we going to see Pentagon Jr.'s master? What's most likely to happen?
Only one of those three?
Yeah. Or you can order them.
Okay, number one most likely is the chair. That's gotta happen. Chavo is like this horrible constant in our lives.
Yeah. Okay, so what's second? Seeing Cueto's brother or seeing Pentagon Jr.'s master?
I'm gonna say Cueto's brother second just because I saw a tweet just like an hour ago, a Lucha Underground tweet with a drawing of Black Lotus in a cage, and it said, this is what happens to you when you enter my temple looking for revenge. So they're bringing that up again, social media. So I think that's the second most likely. Okay. And then I think the master thing is the third. I think they could conceivably stretch that master storyline out for another season.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm gonna go with Chavo. Chavo's gonna hit someone with the chair, so I agree with that. Cueto's brother, I think, is the second. Yeah. So. Alright, so if you like this episode, you can let us know by leaving your thoughts wherever you watch or listen to this series. And if you really like this episode, why not head over to patreon.com/Fans Talk and pledge a few dollars our way. With your support on Patreon, we'll keep this series funded. And you also get early access to this series as well as the other series that we do, including Fans Talk TNA and Fans Talk Pro Wrestling. And yeah, a video feed when YouTube does not die. YouTube died during today's recording, so...
It was a YouTube casket match.
Maybe we'll post the Periscope video instead. We'll see.
Ooh.
Any final thoughts?
Just some tips out there for y'all. In addition to writing down your Patreon information so you're not locked out forever like I am, if you're gonna buy a power tool, make sure you check that tool comes with a battery. Because otherwise you will waste hours of your life and you will be very angry and you'll have to make another trip.
Orbital saw?
It's a reciprocating
saw. Yeah, the wife went to Home Depot, bought a reciprocating saw.
A brand I'm familiar with.
And, yeah, it did not include
This might be obvious to people who've bought power tools before, but I've only used other people's, and I didn't realize that sometimes they come separately, so I put the blade in, and I'm like, all right, let's saw some stuff. And nothing. It says battery sold separately, says it right on the front of the box. I'm an idiot. I didn't read it, so it's just your tip of the day.
So read
what you're buying
packages before you buy them. Okay, that's a good tip.
Yeah.
All right, and that's all the time we have for this edition of Fans Talk Lucha, but the conversation doesn't have to stop here. You can join us over on YouTube. YouTube is the best place to continue the conversation. We've got a nice group of you over there, which is always fun. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and Instagram. All of those links are available on fanstalklucha.com, and definitely make sure you follow us over on Periscope. We're going to be doing some live Periscope feeds in the future. So that's it. We'll talk again on Friday after day 1 of Ultima Lucha. We'll review what we've seen and continue
not Friday.
Why not?
I have a rehearsal dinner.
So we got to do it Thursday?
Maybe late Friday. Maybe very late on Friday.
Okay. You'll get it at some point. But we're going to talk about day 1 of Ultima Lucha as well as continue to preview day 2 of Ultima Lucha and the end of Lucha Underground Season 1. We'll see you then. Adios.